it's great to have you here to be part of our Inclusive Leadership series. So I'd love for you to start with like an introduction to yourself.
Thank you, Sam. I'm very happy to be here with you today and to talk about this important topic. So as an introduction, I am Egyptian. I am married for the last 19 years and I have two children. They are 15 and 13, so two teenage, keeping us
Your hands are full.
Our hands are full at home.
Yes.
Quite an interesting age. And then on the professional side, I've been with Maersk now for 20 years, and I've done different roles in operations, finance, product, ocean asset strategy, etc. And then this current role is the Chief Infrastructure Officer.
So you have spent most of your career at Maersk. I'd love you to take us back to what were those early experiences like?
Yeah, you can actually say I spent all my career in Maersk. I started as a trainee in our management training program, so quite fresh from the university. I did not know what to expect at that time when I joined the company. I would say it was a great learning experience. I think the first thing that struck me is that there's a lot of terminologies we use in the company, yes. And I need to pick up on all that. But I think the other thing that really struck me is the diversity of the program that we had at that time. So we were 400 colleagues, all coming from different backgrounds, from different nationalities, all coming joining the company at the same time and joining the same experience. And that diversity of expertise, knowledge, backgrounds was quite fascinating for me in the start.
I'd like to take it a step back. What actually made you choose this industry? Because we hear a lot now about, trying to make it more inclusive, trying to get different talents in. But if we're going back 20 years, what attracted you to actually pursuing a career in this industry?
Yeah. So actually, honestly, I did not know much about the industry at that time. Also, living in Egypt, I would say it was not that big thing at that time. But what attracted me was the company name and the fact that it's a multinational company and the fact that it was attracting a lot of young talent without experience and, asking them to join an attractive program around leadership. So that's one of the things that really attracted me. Again.
So what a career you've had in numerous different roles. What has that journey been like? And can you tell us some of those highlights or maybe key special moments?
Yeah, so 20 years is a long time. I would say it has evolved by the day, that journey, and the career also has evolved by the day and by the year. But if I think of one key highlight was my move to head operations in West Central Asia in Dubai. And the reason for that is twofold. One is it was a big jump in terms of career progression, moving from leading a small team to leading a big organization. And two, it also taught me a lot about the talent philosophy in our company and this thing about trusting in our people, believing in our people, willing to grow our people. So I took that also with me in how I think about talent and how I attract talent in the organization and how do I work on developing and growing them. So that was the big highlight in my career where I learned also a lot.
We bring it to present times, and of course that has been one of the moments which has sort of given you the experience and the opportunities to sort of work with different regions, different markets and also different cycles. So if we now bring it to present times and the role of Chief Infrastructure Officer, what does that role entail and how does that part of the organisation support the business strategy?
Yes. So first of all, it's a new role in the new setup, and it's mainly focused around enabling the strategy from the aspect of we want to make sure we have assets available for our customers where and when they need them, and we want to make sure that we decarbonize our industry, starting with our company, of course. And we develop operational excellence when it comes to safety. So the role focuses mainly around how do we build capacity to provide the outcomes that we want to provide to our customers around availability, around quality, around flexibility, and of course the big thing around the safety element.
So there's some big key areas of the business that you're responsible for. So tell me, what will be some of your key business priorities for your organisation in the coming year?
Yeah, so as the strategy is unfolding, we defined 5 key priorities for infrastructure. The first one is to provide capacity to our customers where and when they need it, back to my earlier point. The second one is around achieving cost competitiveness, because if we control, own, or partner around the assets. We have a big area of responsibility around achieving cost competitiveness in infrastructure. And the third one is providing a safe and secure working environment and building that safety culture across the organization. The fourth one is driving leadership culture that we want to deliver across the organization. It's not only for infrastructure, but across the organization. And the last, but definitely not the least, is the managing the energy transition and the decarbonization agenda.
We're now going to shift our focus to DEI, and I understand that this is a very special topic for you. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, so I think if I start first with the company, I believe that it's so much ingrained on who we are as a company in our values and purpose. And I also think when I think about our strategy and how ambitious is that strategy, I do believe that it's so important to have diversity as a key, I wouldn't say a key element for success, but as a key enabler for the strategy. And what I mean by this, and here I want to come to the personal angle of it, is I'm a firm believer that diverse views bring success and bring progress. So it's very important for me personally to create that psychologically safe space where everyone's opinions are valued, appreciated, and also to be intentional about it, right? Because for diversity to happen, we need to be intentional about inviting those different perspectives and different points of views.
That is super interesting, especially when we hear about your career journey, working with multiple people in different regions, and also we have now a very diverse ELT team. So what does it mean to you personally when you talk about inclusion and that sense of sort of belonging and inclusiveness?
Yeah, I think here I want to share an example. And it's an example where I was part of a team that we did not really live that diversity and inclusion. And I have to say that it was more of a command and control environment. It was more of, following the rules without listening to the different perspectives or without inviting the different perspectives. And I could see, and that was a bit early in my career as a leader, and I could see the impact of this on me. And I would say one of the key impacts is that it has actually impacted my own self-confidence in my own opinions and my own views about things, that it took a few rounds to get that right again. And when I reflect on that, I don't want this to happen to others. I want to be very intentional about it, intentional about inviting different perspectives, inviting different views, and making people feel really safe to bring their full self, especially when they challenge and push back on things. Because at that time, I did not get a chance to do that.
That's so interesting, especially from that perspective that you brought. So if we now look at inclusive leadership and what, of course, we're trying to do with the strategy and the personal experiences you have had, how does that shape your own leadership style?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because, first of all, we are forming as a new leadership team, and I wanted from the start to share with my team how I like to lead and who I am as a leader. And I said, one of the things I said in the start, if you don't challenge me on my views on things, then there is a problem. I'm actually expecting to be challenged, and I'm expecting diverse views on things, especially that when we debate hot topics. So the strategy that we have, we have some proof points and we have some assumptions, and we need to challenge ourselves on those assumptions and make sure that we don't end up in groupthink, because it's very easy that we all just nod and say
yes.
It's all good. So I would say it's very important for me in how I lead every day. And I also spot myself when I don't do it, and I become, the one is kind of just saying this is how we go without even listening. And I also ask some of them to, not some, but I think I ask all of them to share feedback when I don't do that, because it's just very important.
So you have lived in numerous countries, and the most recent one being here in Copenhagen, Denmark. What has the experiences been of living here as opposed to some of the other places that you have been, and how have you found that transition?
Yeah. So we've been now in Denmark for 2.5 years. If I start with the weather, I would say
we'll be here all day.
Putting the weather aside, I would say it has been quite a change for us as a family on a personal level, but also for me professionally. On the personal level, I would say living in Denmark has brought a lot of independence to the children. There's a lot of, as you know, it's very safe, so they go around, they can take their bikes, and I think they're really enjoying that culture and that safety. I also found that it's a very actually diverse international environment. So in the schools also they were quite welcomed from day one, and that really helped in them settling and in the whole move, and also helped us, me and my husband, a lot. And also there was a lot of help. And a lot of people willing to share their experience, advice, how do we go around doing things, etc. So that was super helpful. On the professional side also, I would say I got a lot of support in the start to settle in from many colleagues who just reached out and say, hey, how can we help? How can we help you to navigate, this new environment? And also because I worked, I would say, most of my career in the front line. I was a leader in the front line. I was never a leader in the headquarters. It required a shift, and that shift also came with its challenges for me, and I had to, learn and unlearn new things, and I got also a lot of support during that journey.
I think actually those experiences are super important on the front line, because sometimes you don't want that separation of one type of thinking in HQ and then the frontliner having a totally different experience. Have you been able to bring some of those insights to headquarters and vice versa, so that we do have this not just global logistics feel but also local, so we can support those customers on the ground?
I really hope I did. At least that's what I heard. And I also think that in the last few years we have done a lot of this, bringing colleagues from frontline to headquarters and the other way around, especially for the reasons that you mentioned, because we need to, it's one organization, it's one strategy, it's one team, it's not two, and it's just important to cultivate that learning across. So yeah, I hope I did since I came here.
You were looking after some very important parts of the business, especially when we think about what our customers are asking for when it comes to decarbonising their supply chains and us decarbonising an industry. So what types of skills do you think a leader needs to possess to be able to achieve some of these goals, not just for the organisation, but for, of course, the customers that we serve, also society? What are some of those key points that you think a leader should possess?
Yeah, so for me, there are three things when it comes to leadership that I believe are so important. One is setting a compelling vision and being able to communicate that vision and rally people around it. Again, if we think about our strategy and what we're trying to do, it's so important to be able, per function, per team, per leader, to set that vision. The second one is building a strong and diverse team. Back to the discussion we just had about diverse opinions and diverse backgrounds, but a strong team that can and will deliver results. And the third one, I would say, is setting clear expectations, because it's so important that everyone in the organization can say, I know what is expected of me. So setting clear expectation and holding everyone accountable to those expectations.
Absolutely. It's been fantastic talking to you. So I'm just going to sort of round up here. So tell me, what are your biggest focus areas in the coming years?
Yeah, so I would say also three. The first one is around understanding our customer needs better. It's so important as we develop the strategy and as we progress on the strategy that we understand what our customers need, especially that their needs are evolving. So I see this as a key priority for me. The second one is decarbonization and our agenda. I think we have made some significant progress in the last few years, but there's a lot more that will be done, especially around the government, the regulations, impacting this whole ecosystem to deliver on the ambitions that we put in place. And the third one is around back to the teams and developing strong leaders and strong teams in the organization.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you for your time, such interesting and candid answers, and we look forward to continuing to watch how your inclusive leadership career unfolds.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Thank you.